Leading a spiritual retreat is one of the most rewarding experiences you can have. And there are certain things that you can do to make sure that you truly deliver a transformational experience to your participants. Watch this video to find out how. When you lead spiritual retreats effectively, you're doing work that can literally transform someone's life forever. And so this is really important work, and it's so powerful that it requires you to think deeply about how you're going to create that experience. In this video, I'm sharing some of the ways that I've found that help people have the deepest, most powerful transformations. One of the most important decisions that you will make when it comes to having your spiritual retreat is the location. Now, a retreat by definition is getting away. And so what I've found is that you can do retreats where people come in for the day and leave and then come back the next day and leave. That can absolutely deliver massive transformation. And I find that it's much more effective to have people come in and stay. And so finding a great retreat venue where people can come and really get away from the world is step one. Where are you going to host your retreat, and what are some of the things that you want to have in that venue? So I've held retreats at yoga centers, at gyms, at hotels. I've held retreats in Airbnbs and VRBOs, all sorts of different venues. And what I've found is that you want a venue, ideally, right? And this is just my suggestion, ideally, is to have a venue that's separated from the world, that's withdrawn from the world, that doesn't have a lot of distractions. Like, this will be really obvious, but you wouldn't want to host a spiritual retreat in Las Vegas, in the middle of the strip, right? You don't want to lose people to the distractions of Vegas. So we want to have a place that might ideally has some land around it, ideally has some pockets and nooks and crannies where people can then go while they're in your retreat and have some private time and some personal moments. A hammock over here, or a labyrinth walking path over there, or a garden, or a hiking trail. These are all really great things that can support personal and spiritual transformation. Because one of the things that I've noticed is that when you pack a retreat too full of activities, people don't have that time and space to integrate what they're getting. So you want to have a venue that offers that time and space for people to get away and integrate, and perhaps even have some alone time. And one thing that's really important that I found that supports spiritual transformation is having a connection with nature, right? You can get away to a place that's concrete jungle, or you can get away to a place that has a lot of connection to Mother Earth. And so I've found that that really helps any sort of spiritual transformation, is to ground and connect with the earth. Another thing you'll want to think about even before you get into planning your spiritual retreat is the timing of the retreat. Now, you can do a spiritual retreat in a day, and I've had profound spiritual experiences in a day, but having multiple days to really get away from it all can really support a more lasting transformation. Why? Because when we only get away for a day or so, then we're back in the mix. We're back in the real world. We're back in our lives and back with all the distractions. It sometimes takes just a day or two for people to even disconnect from life. Sometimes it takes even longer than that. There are spiritual retreats like Vipassana retreats, silent meditation retreats that are at least 10 days long. And so you'll want to think about what kind of a time frame is going to really support the work you need to do. And what's the journey that you want to bring people on? You know, maybe day one is literally just disconnecting. It's putting away the phones. I know people who do retreats that literally collect people's cell phones as they walk in and keep them for the duration of the experience. The timing and the structure of the retreat, how many days, what's that journey you're going to go on, is something you'll want to think about before you even get started. So in a spiritual retreat, the result that we're going for, the outcome, is for people to have a divine connection, to have maybe a spiritual experience or an awakening or a deeper connection to source, to God, to universe, whatever your belief system is. And so what I've found is that in our current culture, in our society as we've developed it, people are very comfortable with coming from the mind. They're comfortable with learning something, with mental discussions, intellectualization of things. So what I found is to go deep internally, to go deep inward, and then to connect to a divine, we might want to start by opening up the mind. So learning something, providing a framework, providing something that people can grab onto and understand first. Because we're going to go into a place that you can't understand spirituality or God or the divine, not really from the mind. You can feel it, you can understand it in the heart, you can connect with it in the body, but understanding spirituality is kind of challenging. But entering through the mind, like opening up the mind, or at least relaxing the mind, is a great way to open up a spiritual experience. So that's usually how I open up my retreats. And I've seen a lot of effective retreats start with opening the mind. Like, here's a framework, here's a piece of content, here's something to discuss to get things kind of flowing. From there, it's also really important to engage the body, the physiology. In our current culture, in our world, a lot of us have our nervous system kind of jacked up. And when we're all stressed and tight and nervous, right, that can prevent us from softening, from opening, from having that availability and surrender to have a divine experience. And so in addition to opening up the mind, we want to open up the body. So that might look like creating a hike, or creating doing yoga, moving the body in new ways, and opening up our physiology to help us open up our heart and our spirit to new experiences. The next thing that you'll want to touch in on is opening the heart. And that means getting in touch with emotions. Now, in our current culture, in the day-to-day that we're getting away from, a lot of times in our current culture, in our current environment, emotions are considered inconvenient. How many times have you seen someone burst into tears, or maybe burst into tears yourself, and people are like, stop crying, right? Don't feel those feelings. It's inconvenient. It makes us uncomfortable. But in the world of opening up to spirituality, the emotions and the heart are a way in. They're a way to connect with the divine. And so we want to open up that opportunity. So what are some ways that you can get people to connect with their emotions? Get people to bond and connect with each other emotionally. So for example, an exercise that we do at some of our retreats is we do a heart opening conversation. We basically do a visualization or meditation where we visualize our own heart as an entity, as a being, and then we have a conversation with our heart. Now that might sound pretty crazy and pretty weird, but I'll tell you that it works. People have a conversation with their own heart and sometimes end up in tears. And that's what we want. In order to have a spiritual experience, we need to open our hearts. So think about what kind of experiences you can create, what kind of activities you can design in order to help people connect with their hearts and connect with each other's hearts. Another thing to think about are social experiences for bonding. So you can create fun activities to help people connect. We've done cooking activities and hiking activities, dancing, talent shows, drum circles, singing circles, dancing events. We've done all sorts of things that are simply designed to help people connect and be more open and comfortable with each other. Once we've created the environment of connection, the spiritual experience is much more likely to just happen. The last and most obvious piece that you'll want to think about is, how are you going to create the divine connection? How are you going to open up the opportunity for people to touch something greater than themselves? Now, you can do this through prayer, through meditation. You can do this through plant medicine. You can do this through special types of hypnosis or even breath work. Whatever your modalities are, once you're layering that on top of the physical, the emotional, the mental, the social, you'll find that these experiences are more spontaneous and more easily predictable. When you create the right conditions for divine connection, divine just happens. If you're someone who wants to lead retreats and make a living doing so, then check out my free resource, retreatstoRichesRoadmap.com. It'll give you the 7-step process that I myself use and that all my clients use to create powerful transformational experiences and monetize them. Good luck.